Durst the worst?
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Oh, Durst the worst.
Durst is the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst. Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
This essay, and it is the most clicked on essay of any all time on Evolve. So it is clearly a live and important issue to many, many people. Rabbi Max Reynolds is currently the palliative care chaplain and staff chaplain at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City.
Chopping up a lot of baby dicks.
You can look at the full bios of both of these people on the author's page of Evolve, so I won't take too long of this. The only thing I want to say about Max is among his interests are building vibrant, multiracial, multi-class Jewish communities.
Globalists.
And Rabbi Jessica Rosenberg is the author of An Introduction to Trauma, Healing, and Resilience, created your motivation and thoughts on writing the article originally, and what you have to what you're thinking about that 3.5 years in. Just an open-ended question.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having us. It's really an honor to be able to speak today to many people who I know are thinking about these questions as much as we are.
What the hell, man?
Reading and caring and talking and thinking and organizing. So it's really good to be
It's like a Wookiee hippie or something.
Here in this community.
It's an androgynous Wookiee.
We first read this article in large part because you asked us to, Jacob. And I just want to name that because we wrote it alongside two of our colleagues, rabbis Sandra Lawson and Donna Cephas, who are talking about Black, Jewish, and multiracial families' experiences in Jewish communities. And yeah, so like part of why we wrote it is that we have experience as white Jews where our identities and experiences, we believe that it's important to not distance ourselves from being white and Jewish and be part of fighting racism and anti-Semitism together.
So there you go. Just sort of an admission. This is quite the specimen, I gotta say. This is really, really creepy. I mean, like a century ago, not even, we would have considered this like a circus sideshow freak, not someone that you need to proactively bring around kids. Wowzers. Holy crap. So they're just basically admitting that they're gonna act like a member of one tribe 1 minute and then white the next, right? They're gonna act like white so that they can like bombard white people with all these unwarranted criticisms, you know, and pit like groups against them 1 minute, and then the next minute they can claim a completely different tribal identity. It's just like, I mean, just distorting your physical appearance. I don't know. It's wearing a costume of some sort. It's like concealing your identity. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. I feel like I'm looking at some kind of creature that, you know, my defenses are up, right? I feel like, even though I'm watching a video, right, like this person's not in the same room as me, I feel like if this person were in the same room as me, I would have my guard up and I want to like leave the room as quick as possible.
And wanted to
bring these people around
kids, you know, to Jewish communal conversations about race and white supremacy. And yeah, I guess I'll start with that. It's kind of part of why we wrote it. And maybe Max, if you want to speak a little more to why we wrote it and then get into where we're at today.
Really. Just echoing, thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
What are these people
and having this conversation?
By the way, more like conversations, like in these spaces, more talk like that, dude. Conversation from these person's perspective, these types of people's perspective, a conversation is just, it just means that's what they're going to order you to do. It's not a conversation. It's a unilateral attack. It's like instruction, right? Like these kosher troons, they're going to tell you what to do. And if you don't do it, they're going to cancel you. They're effectively going to, it's a modern form of gulagging, essentially. That's what they're going to do.
When we wrote this in 2017, I think we were just starting to be really on the roll in this Trump presidency, and the platform from the Movement for Black Lives had just come out. And
had just come out.
We really just needed.
Dude, it's like they're tacitly admitting, like, yeah, it just came out, like, a season of a show or like a new flavor at McDonald's or something, like, oh, they just came out with this new way to hate white people. It's like, you think back to 2002 when, like, Troons hadn't come out yet, right? This he-him stuff had not come out yet. It had not been introduced to the public yet by the powers that be. I think that was an interesting unintentional slip-up on the part of Reynolds here. Had it come out. The BLM movement had come out at that time. It's like, there you go.
And wanted to be situated within.
The branding had been introduced. The branding and advertising had come out. There you go.
Our Jewish community, and thinking and talking about our responsibility as white Jews to account for our whiteness and the privilege and power that we hold in our whiteness.
What?
So we're here now.
They're not white though. They're like generic, or they're like their own thing, specific unto them. That's what this is just some creepazoid, like, cloaking ability shit. I don't know how much more of this I could take. I'm definitely not going through the whole hour. I'll tell you that. It's all fucking
in this
shit.
time.
You could look this up if you
And
want.
much has changed, and much is actually also still the same. And I think for both of us, we root ourselves in our specific identities and experiences. Jessica and I have very different backgrounds from each other. But we believe that by doing this kind of work, we can show up better in our anti-racist organizing, and build better and, like, stronger Jewish communities that can hold our vibrancy well, and fight for each other and fight for a different and redeemed world.
Wow, just in one thought, this person just straight up said that they want to fight you, white person, but that they, Jays, kosher people, small hats, they want a strong community where they help each other. They want in-group preference, in-group tribal unity, but they want to break that down in your community. And most white people that find this video are probably going to be like, oh, whatever, I'm a rugged individual, bootstraps, I don't like collectivism, right? But notice how these people like collectivism, and notice how these people are winning. Might want to take note of that.
Yeah, I'll say something else about so I grew up in a Reconstructionist community that was feminist and
Can you reconstruct my foreskin?
had gay and lesbian folks in leadership and visible, that didn't talk at all about.
No joke, like, side tangent, this is such a ridiculous fucking video. I think that their organizations, like, that are associated with the tribe, the ones most closely linked to compulsory foreskinectomies, they should have to pay into a fund. And if someone is not stoked about the fact that they're cut, they should be entitled to some sort of restitution or reparations, like literal reparations. Like, these kind of people should stop lopping up people and themselves, and they should get help. And then their organizations and foundations and 501c3s should have to pay into some sort of fund. Like,
Race and racism and white supremacy, as I remember my wonderful Reconstructionist upbringing. And so part of what I think when Max and I were working on the piece and thinking about what is our specific slice to tell as white Reconstructionist, at that time rabbinical students, and at this time rabbis,
you're not reconstructing anything, you're destroying,
is to be able to offer some historical context.
So
in particular,
agonizing.
that's a love of both of ours, is nerding out about Jewish and other histories. and also to really kind of like provide more tools and history and structure and scaffolding for communities, Jewish communities, Reconstructionist communities, to learn this history, have these conversations, and equip ourselves to be vibrant multiracial communities, show up in anti-racist organizing, and yeah, all of what Max just said about how we want to show up in the world and what
they want, like, the city center where working class whites have to live. They want that to be multiracial. They don't want their cul-de-sac off community to be multiracial. No way, shape, or form. These people do not live in multiracial communities. They do not live in communities where the police are defunded. I can tell you that right the fuck now. Like, they want you to have to endure that, right? And any resistance on the part of you, white man, is... They just told you, it's white supremacy. They're showing up against so-called white supremacy. It's a term they make up that's not real. It's incoherent in its definition. It's an internally inconsistent term. It's basically just white people exist in a context, either as a plurality or a majority, and they are represented at all, like positively or neutrally or at all. Right, and that's intrinsically problematic, and it needs to be stamped out. Right, like that's
particularly
what
the
it
two
is.
of us as
That's what
white
these people are telling you.
Reconstructionist rabbis thought we had to offer.
And I grew up
Gross.
in Eastern Washington and Northern Idaho, in an area that is very, very much surrounded by very active white supremacy. And I was not Jewish when I grew up. I converted as an adult, and I learned through my childhood that it was very, very important to name my whiteness, to account for it.
They think that it's important to name you. So if someone asks you, like, you're talking about like this race stuff, someone asks you why you care, you should probably respond by saying, well, I care because they care, and I care because you care, right? It makes sense to care about this if you're a white person. Like, if you hear people constantly talking like this, show up to, what did this person say? Oh, hold on.
See, and I was not Jewish when I grew up. I converted as an adult, and I learned through my childhood that it was very, very important to name my whiteness.
Out there naming and gaming, dude. So they think it's important to name you. White person, they're naming you. And what are you doing? You're probably like, I don't know, you're an Uber driver or a pizza delivery guy, or you work in an office or factory, or you're an entrepreneur just grinding it out like anybody. They feel like they have to name you. Because you're the majority in some context, and that's intrinsically bad, or you're a plurality, right? Like,
to account for it, and that is part of what it means to...
This is incoherent, just cultish corporate newspeak, right? Like, viewers can discern that right off the bat. This is just incoherent gobbledygook.
To start to do
Talmudic.
the work of unlearning, internalized white supremacy, and to find my way to being not just allies, but an ally too, but a co-conspirator with communities of color, specifically Black communities.
That's so obnoxious, dude. So this person could get on camera and say that she wants to be a co-conspirator with like violent mobs of uppity Black people to go around advocating for white genocide. Like, this person can get on camera and say this, but just sort of shroud it in, like I said, corporate newspeak and like bourgeois, like new lefty progressive corporate newspeak. She could just he, I don't know what the fuck this person is, can shroud it in that sort of gobbledygook and not get canceled. In fact, be platformed, like, proactively. That's the state we're in. I mean, that's the state of things.
And I think part of what I have learned in all of this is that when we do the move, when we say that we're, when we distance ourselves from our whiteness, that it really interrupts our ability to get in the boat, so to speak, with people in this world, with people of color, with Black and brown people,
Right.
in fighting against racial injustice.
So, right, this person just admitted to you that they're they need to be more shrouded and more shady about it. Like, it makes it difficult for them to kind of schmooze their way into POC activism circles because they're presenting as white. Because this is what these people do, right? This is what these people do. They pretend to be this, white, in order to bash whites. That's what they're doing in this podcast right now. 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, I'm Jewish. I'm a Smol Hayt, right? Where's the gefilte fish, right? And 5 minutes later, oh, as white people, we need to show up and, like, attack and co-conspire with the car. But I think that every now and then, Blakes get wise to the fact that they flip-flop their identities, like, every 5 seconds. You know? And that's what this person just said. You know? Makes it difficult to get on the boat.
So can I just ask a couple of basic questions to start?
Yeah.
Both of them together. One, what do we mean when we say systemic racism? We don't mean that somebody hates only that someone that it's a personal feeling that or a personal action against another person.
White supremacy means that white people are represented at all. That's what white supremacy is. You could tell from context clues. We don't even need to listen to the response. White supremacy is white people existing, like I said before, as a plurality or as a majority or at all, presented either positively or neutrally, right? So if white people are not castigated as like villains or oppressors, and they're not, you know, made to be the sort of groveling, hand-wringing, passive doormat, that's white supremacy, basically. So let's see what they have to say.
What do we mean by systemic racism? And what do we mean by white privilege? That'll open it all up. So go take it away.
I'm not going to be able to take much more of this, by the way. Look at these disgusting-looking people. Ew.
So,
ugh.
Systemic racism is really another way that we might call institutional racism, right? So institutional racism is the ways that institutions, organizations, and systems reinforce ideological
systemic systems of institutional structures.
Oppression. Yeah. That is oppression that moves through theories and philosophies that organize how we think about people in this world. So institutional racism moves that theory kind through the structures of this world, the systems of this world.
Institutional structural systems, yeah.
And then it gets deployed through the individuals in those systems.
Okay, so the institutional structural systems get deployed throughout this institutional structural systems. That's
into interpersonal oppression and internalized oppression.
Yeah. So gobbledygook, corporate newspeak, government gobbledygook. I mean, I can't take any much more of this. If you want to check this out, I guess just search this Evolve Conversations, Jews and White Privilege. That was a video request from DNDo. If you want to hit me up on subscribestar.com/dursttheworst, I'll do a video request for you. Or whatever, article, whatever you got. But yeah, that was painful. These people are just like charlatans and grifters and just genocidal maniacs. They're to be avoided.
I'm hoping anyway, like when music does come back, it's not going to be so much men, just people, just straight people. It's going to be a lot more, I guess it's like you can replace the word man with end of white. What's the word then?
End of
privileged people, like
heteronormative patriarchy, whiteness. Yeah.
Shitbags, kick them out of the country. Shitbags, kick them out of the country. I know you got a problem with white men. I know you'll never fucking understand exactly what this is, but take rain. I know that
heteronormative patriarchy, whiteness.